Hey everyone. If in case you don't know me, my name is Will Story. I'm the residence director of Maddox and also the person who is emailing you all summer, so I apologize. Also, I apologize. I'm filming this in my office. You can tell by very exciting walls. And I will probably be leaning side to side also because I don't know how to look at myself on a camera. But anyway, this video that we're going to talk through and kind of review from the spring training session is the one on difficult conversations. So I'll talk a little bit, and at the end, I will pause the video so you all can discuss as a staff some of the questions that I'll pose. So I think some things that are really important to remember as we talk about difficult conversations is that, first and foremost, you've probably dealt with conflict before. I mean, if you've gotten to college without having some sort of conflict in your life, I'm really impressed. Please tell me how you did it. But second of all, I think so you've had that conflict. So you've either had it with siblings or with parents or with friends. So there's been some experience or some sort of past thing that you can probably pinpoint how you managed conflict well or didn't manage it well. So saying that, you have the abilities. You have the abilities to handle conflict and handle difficult conversations with your residents. You just need to be confident about it. I understand that it can be so potentially scary to think through, like, oh my gosh, like someone is going to have this really hard, difficult conversation with me that I'm not prepared for, or that I'm not going to know how to lead a roommate mediation. I'm really nervous. But I think at the end of the day, this is all interpersonal things, which you're a person. So you have those skills. You just need to find the right way to pinpoint and hone in on them. And then one of the third things is if something is that a situation you feel is above your head, or that you need help with, don't be afraid to ask your RAs and your RDs. You're not in this alone. There's multiple of you on a team for a reason. And so if you need help dealing with a roommate conflict, or a resident has come to you to talk about parts of their story that doesn't seem to intersect with yours, but you know someone else who has had a similar experience, ask them, and don't be afraid to ask for advice or assistance in how to handle those conversations. And then finally, I think the basic framework that we should all remember, like we said in spring training, is support, love, and care, or Salt Lake City. These A lot of difficult conversations can um, come from a place of maybe someone who hasn't shown the best love or the best care. And so we want to take that and we want to show them as residents, assistants, and RAs, that we care about our residents and we care about them because they're a part of our community. And to quote Hannah Gadsby from her special Nanette, their story is our story and our story is their story. So we really want to show that support and that love and that care as they're going through these times. So I'm just going to list some examples of difficult conversations you may hear throughout the year, and maybe a couple things that you can think about when going into these situations. If at any point, feel free to pause the video and talk about it as a staff, and hear from returning RAs or your RD about how they've handled things like this in the past. So that first situation is something like a roommate conflict. So you have two residents, obviously, who are roommates who aren't getting along either, because, oh my gosh, my light, because of something serious, or even something that is seemingly not that serious. Like last year, we had a roommate conflict in Maddox because someone turned the AC down to 65 and the other person's laptop stopped working. And so he accused his roommate, of turning the air down cold enough that it killed his laptop. So your roommate conflict reasonings can be across a spectrum. But when you're mediating them, make sure to pay attention to both sides, and hear all of them out. Um, Ideally, you're finding a place that's a neutral location, so maybe a space on campus, or if they want to, you can do it in their room as long as you're with them. If you feel comfortable, you could do the mediation in your room. That's only if you are someone who would find that a successful component of the mediation process. But finding a neutral location is really great because people's emotions aren't getting tied into where you're meeting. Yeah, sorry. um, Make sure to not take sides. Listen to both people with all seriousness. Watch your tone and your nonverbals. So even when you're asking questions or trying to explain something, make sure it's not condescending. If you think something is a dumb reason that they are in an argument, and also watch your body language. And so, because I think people pick up on those, and so if you're trying to mediate, but everything else is kind of giving you away, then it won't be the most successful mediation. Um, and then I think a broader spectrum is some heavier conversations that may happen, like mental health or conversations about sexuality or race or anything in our current climate throughout the country, or someone feeling like they don't belong at Belmont, something that they're not finding a community at the school and they're thinking about leaving. These conversations are a little bit heavier, maybe, than your average roommate mediation. So you may want to talk to your RA or your RDs, your returning RAs and your RD about tips that they might have when dealing with these issues, because a lot of these heavier topics can look different for different people, and you're the one that knows your residents. So explain kind of, if you're asking for tips, make sure to explain the situation a little bit and be open to hearing feedback about how you can help them go through this heavier thing that they're experiencing in life. And I think this is the part where I'll say that in any sort of difficult conversation, if a resident is kind of speaking like they might harm themselves or others, you need to report that to your RD immediately, because we're really concerned with the safety of our students. And so we don't want that to get lost in the process of some sort of heavy conversation. So at this point, I will stop talking and pose a couple questions to the group. So go ahead and pause the video after I ask them and discuss. So the first one is being, what are some ways you've managed difficult conversations in the past? I'd love to hear from the returning RAs and the RDs about their experiences and what has worked or what hasn't worked. So discuss that as a group. And the last thing that I will say in this video is just, again, to remember to show support, love, and care, and never forget that when you need to report up, you can to your RD. Don't feel uncomfortable about it. And you have the capabilities. You can do this.